Righto guys, so we had a bit of an issue. So obviously originally this sump, we tapped it with a 3/8 BSP tap. And honestly, we tapped it fairly deep with this 3/8 BSP tap. We're going to fit our 3/8 BSP taper fitting and it's just, the hole's too small. The taper fitting's too big. We ended up wrecking the threads. It's just, yeah, there's no way it's gonna happen. The only way it was gonna happen is if we drilled it out bigger, which obviously presents an issue because the sump's on the engine in the car. And you know, it's pretty hard to keep the swarf out if you're gonna go ahead and do that. So that was pretty much a no-go. So what I ended up doing, I decided to actually drill and tap for just like a turbo drain fitting. So they're just some M6 taps. I didn't drill all the way through the sump, so there's no swarf in there. And they're tapped, so I'll just buy a 38 to 44 mil turbo drain fitting, which will then bolt straight up onto there. So crisis averted there, bit of a pain. But I do remember actually having the same issue with my VS. We did the same thing. And I do remember that fitting being very tight and annoying. So that's the little gasket and it fits over there perfectly. I've made the turbo drain, hardline turbo drain. This is it here. And I'll show you a bit more of how that goes on when we drop it back down. I can show you the actual turbo. But now I was meant to go down today to get the grill and our shifter gate. That didn't happen, unfortunately. So it'll be next week now. So it'll be a few days to get that stuff together. But in the meantime, we can pretty much get everything else mounted just about on the car. It is getting so close. All right, guys. So one of the problems we had was we actually couldn't find anywhere where we could get a stepped line holder. So one that would hold AN6 and AN4. Yeah, we couldn't find one from any of our suppliers. Couldn't actually find anyone who really sort of makes one that's handy. So I went ahead and was like, well, we'll just make our own. We've got a 3D printer. How freaking good. So just quickly knock this up. I'm actually getting a lot better with like these programs too. Took me a lot less time than it has previously. So that's your two halves, obviously, and you can have an AN4 and an AN6, and then slice them into this, and that is printing right now as we speak. So how handy is that? So that's printing. I've still just got the white filament in it at the moment. I'm just gonna see how they go, how they come out, how strong they are, if they're actually gonna work. And then if they do, I do have some like black filament here, so I can just swap the filament over, reprint them in black if they're gonna be strong enough and work. And they're just gonna look nice and regular. Ooh, look at that. We've got our intake manifold properly installed with all the bolts in and our injectors and our rail. Oh, how good. After all this time, it's going together. Well, for final times. So exciting. Also, guys, Rex spoke to Castlemaine Rod Shop this morning about this bracket and how he talks about putting an idler on it. And they actually don't make this particular bracket anymore. They changed the design and it's now made out of billet. But we are right, the new bracket, the billet one, there is a provision here to put another idler so that we can have a belt route that goes sort of around the alt and then down and then back up to this idler, which then obviously gives us room to, we can actually run these lines sort of down where they were between the alt and the, you know, where they're gonna look nice. We can actually run them down there. So I think they're looking into that so that they can get that bracket out to us so that we can do that, which is gonna be really, really awesome. So that's that sorted, which means I don't have to worry about moving these too much out of the way. And we can sort of run them in a way that's gonna look nice. All right, couple of stepped. Oh man, I'm having a mental blank. It's been a long day. But stepped holders. All right, let's go sort them out, see how they go. Like I said, white for now. If they work, if they're strong, if I like them, print them in black. Oh, they work awesome. How sick. How bloody good. All right, definitely gonna print them in black. So yeah, print a heap of those. Wicked. Righto guys, we'll get our cable separators printing. Got 2 that are duds, but we'll have 6 ready to go in black, which is gonna be mint. I've just painted the turbo core, which is something I've been meaning to do for freaking yonks. We've got the oven heated up, it's ready to go, so we'll bake this turbo core, we'll get it back inside. So the reason we paint those is just to seal them so they don't rust. So it'll be black, the same as the housing and stuff, so hopefully should suit and look nice and all look the part, which would be great. So I'm happy to get this housing on the manifold properly and we'll get the core in and pretty much start getting all this together. But like I said, I'm going to leave the gate loose, dump loose and everything until we've got our shifter gate here and got that sorted out, because that's going to be in our way. And I still have to secure our heater line. Actually still have to put O-rings in this end as well, so got to put the O-rings in, got to secure that with a P-clamp to the block in the factory position so that it's secured. But yeah, moving along with it. We have finally got our grill back. So Luca there from Clueless Creations is an absolute genius, and this thing looks stellar, looks awesome. So as you can see, it ended up being 3 pieces. So these are actually separate to the rail, and due to it being 3 pieces and being able to be assembled after the fact, we didn't have to leave these clear of the mounting points for the grill, which is why this one was actually able to be built with such a small offset, but it still really retains that iconic HQ look where it's not a flat grill, there is still some offset. So like we talked about in the last episode, if we're doing this after the fact, we obviously have probably that 5-10 mil to move this cooler back, but obviously we weren't thinking far enough forward to this at the time, and obviously all of the fab and stuff's been done. But we could have got away with maybe an extra 5 to 10 mil of offset on this particular vehicle if we'd known that, but unfortunately it is what it is. But this is the most room you'll ever get behind a HQ grill in a HQ nose cone while still retaining some sort of HQ look. And we are pretty excited to be able to offer this to the market as a product that people can buy. So super, super exciting. I'll try, we're still gonna have to do a little bit of notching as we talked about. Just these little bit of notching on the corners of the end tanks here, but we just had the grill just dummy fitted up there. And we're not gonna know for sure until we have the nose cone bolted up properly. It's only bolted in a few bolts, so there's still quite a bit of movement in it, as you can see. So we're not gonna know until it's properly bolted in, but you know, there's a little bit of notching we're gonna have to do, but it's all, from what we can see, going to be behind the grill face. So none of the notching that we have to do to this grill to fit it in our situation is going to come out further than the grill face, which means none of it's going to be able to be seen from the front, which means that for all intents and purposes, we get our complete HQ grill face in the nose cone, which is just freaking awesome. So sick. So anyway, guys, if you can't tell, I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited to finally have the piece. It's been a long road, and we definitely wouldn't have got far from the start of the road if it weren't for Luca there at Clueless Creations. So definitely head over and check out some of his work. It's pretty groundbreaking stuff, honestly. It's really cool to have this sort of technology and the knowledge that he has to be able to do something like this. So obviously because of our situation, we needed a really, really low offset like this. But as far as offering these to market, I've talked to Luca about having something like this for if you need the maximum amount of room that you can get behind the grill and the nose cone, but also potentially offering one that has like an extra 10 mil maybe of offset, just to give it that little bit extra HQ. You know, get that little bit of extra offset, a little bit closer to what the standard HQ grill looks like. Obviously, I don't think that most people would really know or tell, but you know, just looking at it, it's still just very much HQ grill. It's definitely different to H, X, J, and Z. So, you know, that's your stock grill, stock badge. That obviously doesn't fit in our new grill because the angles are different, but ours is going to be a little bit different anyway. We're adding a bit more flavor to it. But yeah, so hoping to be able to offer both to market, as in, yeah, very, very low offset like this one, and just a little bit extra offset if you wanted a bit more HQ originality. And you're obviously purchasing one for a build where you can plan around it. You know, obviously if this was LS or something shorter, you could definitely rearrange all of these things in the front entirely to make it all work. But obviously being Barra, being such a long engine, and then having, you know, radiator fans, plus AC condenser, plus cooler, you know, for us in this situation, we really needed the most room that we could get. So anyway, just absolutely stoked. So as you can see, the chrome strips, which you can buy reproduction ones from Rare Spares, they fit really well. These ones will obviously have to come back off for this to get painted, and then they'll get secured properly. But yeah, this thing couldn't have asked for a better outcome. It's just so nice. So as well as that, also got to see Dominic there at Sunny Coast Makerspace, and as you can see, we've got our first production shifter gate maze here. As I talked to you about the actual production piece in 3 different parts. Me and Dominic had another good chat about how we'd actually do this to bring it to market, do things a bit differently, but this is what we're working with for our actual production piece. So that'll end up being riveted together and then bolted, as you've seen with the prototype a heap of times. And I talked to Dominic there about our latest revisions to our other pieces of this kit, and we're pretty much all go. So basically this kit's finally getting done. Everything's finally coming together. All right, guys, so we finally tracked down our accelerator cable. It had been lost. It's finally here. I'm not sure where it actually went now. It is here though. So we do have our brand new accelerator cable that was based off AHQ1 and modified to work properly. So that's freaking awesome. So we finally got that. That's one thing that's been sort of really worrying us because it's been like 5 weeks now. Anyway, it's here. And the other thing that's also here is our new high mount alt bracket from Custom-made Rod Shop. But yeah, basically, as you saw from just before, pretty much at a point now where it's time to start taking the nose cone and the inner guards and stuff back off to get all this tidied up so that the inner guards and stuff can go back on properly. At the moment, this is all just dummied up, a couple of bolts here and there, obviously while we did fuel system and things like that, but where we are now, like we talked about with the grill and stuff, is we need to get all this stuff back apart, get this wiring tidied up into that corner properly. We've got to get our shifter gate maze on. I'm going back down to see the boys tomorrow, so I'm hoping that Dominic's got those last 2 pieces for that shifter gate ready, because that's the only thing stopping us at the moment from putting the exhaust on and sort of completing what's going on here. So tomorrow when I go down to see the boys, I'll get our coil cover. It's been scanned, we've got a file, so I've talked to the owner of the car. We're not going to worry about getting a print done at this stage, but like I said, I just wanted to have it scanned and on file so that later on down the track, if we wanted to print a KingBarra coil cover, we could. So that's a later problem though. So anyway, start pulling this stuff all back apart really. Shove it all up there out of the way and start finalizing everything, buttoning it up. All right, she's assembled. Look at that. What a road it's been. From way back to our proof of concept, janky bloody busted up shitbox one to our first actual production one that's now going in the car. What a time it's been and what a journey. And my lord, have we learnt some stuff along the way and met some people that we are stoked to have in our corner now and have at our disposal. So, oh, long time coming. Anyway, let's get it in the car, see how it fits actually in there. And hopefully tomorrow we'll have our last 2 final pieces and our shifter gate will be complete in the car, freaking working. And then we put our exhaust in. Woo! Exciting times. It's exciting, guys. I can't tell you honestly how it actually feels after, you know, working at it for so long. And yeah. Woo! There you go, guys. From what started out as an idea, prototyped all the way to production. I'm pretty sure there's a couple missing from in here, but yeah. Woo. And it fits perfectly. Yeehaw. How good.
Alrighty guys, we're finally getting some colour down on this grill. So obviously the old boy used to be right into his panel work, and a lot of the old boys' real old school friends are old school panel wizards from way back. So I did have a lot of good help asking a few people about how would be best to go about painting this sort of material and this sort of plastic. And you know, a few of these real old school guys basically told me pretty much, being that it's hydrocarbon, it's plastic. You know, an enamel, an equipment enamel that's hydrocarbon is also, it's also a hydrocarbon. So as long as you get them both to the same temperature and they're both clean, they'll bond, and they'll bond really well. So basically I just prep soled the whole thing down. You saw Bo gave it a nice big sand. Bo got it cleaned up really, really well. I prep soled it down. We've left it out here. It's just been sort of heating up in the sun. with the cans as well, getting everything to the same temp, and just been laying down some coats of matte black equipment enamel on this thing. So this is what we're using to paint it. By all accounts, from what I've been told, it should come out Mickey Mouse. Now, we decided to go matte black because it matches the headlight surrounds. So the grill, the bumper is gloss, but the headlight surrounds are matte. So we figured, given that it's printed in plastic, you're never going to get it super smooth. So the best balance would be to paint it matte. It sort of matches or accentuates, or yeah, like it sort of matches the finish on the plastic anyway. Whereas trying to paint it gloss on that finish that is from the printer, you know, without doing a lot of sanding work and getting it perfectly glassy, it's never going to be perfect. So figured matte would look a lot better, and it matches the headlight surrounds. The badge that we plan on making for the grill, we're going to try and do that in gloss. So that'll sort of, you know, pop the gloss off from the matte. I think it'll look really good that way. So yeah, that's what we're going with. Looking forward to getting this thing, you know, painted back together and actually get it in the nose cone and see what it looks like. So I've only just done the first top coat on the front, so I've still got a long way to go. But yeah, it's a beautiful day for painting. It's dead still. There's no humidity. The biggest thing I'm fighting at the moment is the native bees seem to love whatever's in this paint. So all the native bees coming out to have a sniff. But yeah, lovely day for paint. I can't even blame the conditions if it's a bad job. All I can do is blame myself. So couldn't have asked for a nicer day to be painting. Rightio, boys and girls. So the grill's come out flapping awesome. Looks great, but I do have to get a badge sorted for it before it goes in the car, because once it's in that nose cone, trying to like get a badge in and out often and do stuff with it is going to be an absolute pain. So we've dummied it back together so we can get the right angles and everything. I've started working on a 3D design of our badge. The owner already came up, or already found a font that he liked that was close enough to the factory badge, so that cut out heaps of time, obviously having to go through fonts. Had to work out with Fusion how to actually make it a 3D file and start printing. I already tested one, but it was too thin. So doing a couple of test prints at the moment. Unfortunately, obviously with 3D printing, everything just takes ages. Each test print takes a couple of hours. So, but this is sort of what the badge looks like. I've scaled it to the exact same as like the badges on the front quarters. So it's the exact same scaling and everything. And honestly, I think it looks pretty good as far as being pretty close to the standard font. So that's what we've got there, obviously. It's looking pretty good. And then this is what we've actually got on the car, on the front guards and stuff at the moment. So that's the factory. So I think the fonts are pretty good in that once we have these badges all printed in on the car, it's going to look fairly factory. So firstly, obviously we start with the one with the grill. I've got a few ideas of how we can actually make it so that it mounts properly. And then to get the angles between the software and then the actual method of printing, there's no real nice way to do it in that process. I think what it's going to have to be is basically mount it on the grill flat, use a heat gun, and sort of just press it back into the angles of the grill that we've got here to get it sort of nice and have it fit nice. So that's the plan. That's what I'm going to do. I've come up with a solution as well for the actual part to print it out, to have mounting hardware in it, or to put mounting hardware in it. But obviously for now, I'm just trying to test print the actual badge and have it all come out together properly as well, because I'll show you the one that failed. It was just because it was too thin, but went past it. So this is what I'm working with as far as one with the hardware. So this is essentially a receiver, which is basically the size of an M6 bolt head. And this little section that I've got off the back of the badge, which this is the original thickness, which is too thin. So this is going to have to get design's going to have to change, because that's got to be a thicker badge. But this little piece there, that little nub, is the perfect size to fit in this grill, in this little hole that Luca's left. So it just fits perfectly down in there between these two high ridges. And then, yeah, the actual hex head is the perfect size for an M6 bolt. So because it's, you know, a plastic filament, if you take a matte torch or something, or even just a heat gun, and heat the crap out of an M6 bolt head, we should be able to press it into that receiver, and it should essentially mold that plastic around it. It is like a interference fit for an M6 bolt head, so it should just melt down in there, and then it obviously should encapsulate an M6 bolt, which would be the right mounting hardware. And for the actual guards and stuff, we'll have to obviously figure out those. They're going to have different posts to mount them, but it shouldn't be that hard to do that in the print software. So this is the one that I first printed. As you can see, it failed because it's just too thin. So it needs more thickness, so more than double the thickness for the next print, so we'll see how it goes.
anyway, as long as that print's all right, then we'll start looking at actually printing one for the grill. And then once it's printed, we can actually start looking at getting that grill in the nose cone, which I'm absolutely stoked and very excited to see, because I think it's going to be great. So this next one's in the print at the moment. Hurry up and wait, but that's pretty much where we are with it at the moment. Anyway, guys, that's the latest. I think that's probably enough for another episode. I am finally going down to see the boys tomorrow. They're at Sunshine Mega Specs. Hopefully the rest of the parts for the shifter gate are finally ready. It has been a very, very frustrating process to wait for, but it just is what it is. It's just, we're at the point of this car now where it's all the little 10%, those final little 10% things like the badges, things like painting the grille. And the next big thing I've got to sort out is a mount solution for the IC7 inside on the dash. I do have a very good idea of what I'm going to use. The owner did supply a column mount for the steering wheel column, but it's the wrong size. So, and as well as obviously us having our shifter on the column, we're not going to be able to use that, which was, the idea was to hopefully be able to use that to save a heap of time on what I'm going to have to do, which is actually develop a bit of a mount system. But the other thing is we're going to be using a rotary dial, a 12-stage rotary dial for the actual boost settings in the car, so that the owner can just turn it up from pretty much 1 to 12, whatever he's feeling on the day. So I need to sort of encompass that in the design as well. So I'll show you when we get there, but I'm going to be moving a few things forward in the dash, mounting our RC7 off to the side out of the way, where it's going to take up space that usually nothing is there, and it's still going to be nice and out of the way of everything else, and have our rotary dial underneath it and everything in one place. So also going to be handily right sort of underneath where you'd have your hand on the shifter, so everything's going to be right there where you'd have your hand anyway. So yeah, trying to make it obviously match the rest of the car and just being to that level of the car. So anyway, what I was getting at is that it's all these final little 10% things of the car that's left. And it is, I know it's frustratingly taking a lot more time than I had anticipated. You know, in your head you have all these big jobs and all this stuff that's taken up all this time, and you get to the end of it and you have what's left in your head and you think, yeah, you know, couple of weeks, whatever, but these final 10% things are just taking up so much time. I don't know if I showed you as well, but Rex remade all of the intercooler brackets as well. So the intercooler's all been remounted. It's been moved back as far as we can. When we test fitted the grill, after moving the intercooler back as far as we could on the Wiggins clamps and everything, with everything bolted in the front now, because everything up to the nose cone bumper, everything's bolted in properly now. And we actually didn't have to trim any of the grill out, which we thought we would have to, which is awesome. So that's been great. That's why I went ahead and painted the grill. So yeah, these final few things are just taking a bit of time, but it is the final 10% that makes all the difference to the finished product. So we're trying not to rush things, we're trying not to skip anything, we're trying to make sure everything's perfect, but it is frustrating and taking a lot of time. So anyway, I'm hoping that these parts are ready for us tomorrow. I'm going to pick up some other stuff from them anyway, and hopefully we're finally on our way to getting this thing properly together. We'll get this badge issue sorted, we'll get all the badges printed, get all the badges on it, get the interior print sorted out with the IC7, and then we're pretty much ready to hit the dyno. So the only other thing we've got to sort out is some protection on the oil coolers, which I have here as well. I ordered that, is here in a roll. So we've got to weld some protection to them oil coolers that are underneath the car. So that's all sorted too. So we're getting there. It's getting close. This close. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for sticking around. See you on the next episode. Peace out. See you. Bye.